Hello and welcome.
This is Gertie.
I'm Gertie and this is Ella.
I'm Ella. And this is our channel.
Today we are doing a very exciting video. This is the first video in our treatment series.
Number one. Yes, it's a very exciting video. We had to look up a lot of words to pronounce, do a lot of research. Yeah, the whole thing. So we're really excited to...
We're very excited to do this video.
Yes.
That being said, the treatment that we are covering today is birth control.
Yes. So, big disclaimer before we get into this video. We are not scientists or medical professionals. Everything we're going to be saying in this video is stuff that we have pieced together from doing our own research and from our own experiences.
That research will be linked down in the description. As always, we come at it from the perspective of we have PMDD and we want to know this stuff because we need to.
We think that this information is super valuable and we want to share it with you and hope that you also feel the same way about it.
That being said, why is birth control a treatment for PMDD?
Yeah, so birth control is normally one of the first things that doctors prescribe to PMDD patients when they come into the doctor's office or call on the phone. And that is because it prevents ovulation. So birth control pills aim to kind of control the hormonal fluctuations within your body, kind of suppressing the spikes, the hormonal spikes that occur during ovulation and then afterwards in the luteal phase. Those are the spikes that essentially PMDD sufferers are supposed to be sensitive to. And that is why birth control is often prescribed as a treatment.
But like Ella said, what a birth control pill is a hormonal pill that you take that essentially tricks your body into believing that you are pregnant and prevents you from ovulating. There are so many different types of birth control pills. The main ones are combination pills, which are usually a combination of ethinyl estradiol or just estradiol, which are synthetic estrogens, and progestins, which are imitation progesterone, which estrogen and progesterone are both naturally occurring hormones that occur in your cycle. It's important to note that there is only one type of birth control that is approved by the FDA specifically to treat PMDD, and that is a combination pill that is made up of 3 milligrams of drospirenone, which is a progestin, and 0.02 milligrams of ethinyl estradiol. And those are birth controls like Yaz or Maya.
Yeah, so there's different generations of progestin. I think there's about 4. And in those generations, we have drospirenone, which is the newest progestin. And the other commonly prescribed progestin is levonorgestrel. Another one is norethindrone. And they aren't as new. I think norethindrone was in the first generation and levonorgestrel was in the second or something like that.
Second or third.
And the main difference between the two is Yaz, or the birth control containing drospirenone, has the same level of hormones in every active pill throughout the cycle, which is proven to help PMDD sufferers by reducing the fluctuation. And it also has a shorter placebo week, which also helps reduce that fluctuation. And then birth control containing levonorgestrel and norethindrone are safer contraceptive pills, and that's why a lot of the time people get prescribed those right off the bat for their first birth control. It's because they have less risk of blood clots than the drospirenone containing ones, but they are only approved by the FDA as an oral contraceptive and not as an oral contraceptive that targets PMDD and PMS specifically.
Yes, because they are actually meant to mimic your body's natural cycle, essentially. You still will have fluctuations and that can, so it's not proven as a treatment for specifically PMDD.
Speaking of those fluctuations, before we go forward, we're going to put up a graph. This graph is just to show the cycle, essentially. That is what the birth control aims to do.
However, it is really important to note that some people with PMDD find that taking any kind of birth control and skipping their periods has helped them. So the next form of hormonal birth control is an IUD. Now, this is going to be a very short and sweet topic. An IUD is not used as a treatment for PMDD. Essentially, what an IUD is it stands for a intrauterine device, and it is inserted into your uterus and basically releases hormones and to tighten your cervix muscles to prevent sperm from entering. It does not prevent ovulation, so therefore it is not a treatment for PMDD. It is birth control. We got asked this question, and is an IUD used as treatment, or does an IUD work for treatment for PMDD? And the short answer is no.
And that leads us to our next important topic, which is all on progesterone. So in an IUD, progesterone is what's emitted. And in birth control pills, like the ones containing the progestin drospirenone, which is like imitation progesterone, obviously progesterone is also being kind of added to the body. Or those levels of progesterone already in the body are being tweaked and played with. And for a lot of people who have PMDD, this can be a good thing, when it's combined with ethinyl estradiol or, the synthetic estrogen. And that's why it can be a treatment.
But people with PMDD are more likely to actually have a sensitivity to progesterone.
Yes. So there's such a thing as progesterone intolerance, which a lot of doctors I don't think take into account. So even though birth controls like Yaz that have that drospirenone and like a lot of others that do are more proven to help with PMDD, they don't necessarily help everyone. It's essentially, if you're progesterone intolerant, you will have symptoms, like a reaction almost to the added progesterone in your body that mimic PMDD. So you're not getting rid of the PMDD.
So before I want to start our journeys, it's really important to note that every body is chemically different.
Yes.
There are people that will take the levonorgestrel or norethindrine birth control pills and skip their periods, and that really works for them, and just the stopping of ovulation itself has really helped them. There are people that does not work for them, and they have to take the one with drospirenone. But there are also people out there who have a sensitivity to progesterone, and birth control is not a viable option for them.
And that isn't to say that you might stumble across a birth control that does magically work for you. There's so much research that needs to be done in this area. It's a trial and error, but there definitely are going to be people out there where birth control is just not the option, not the answer.
Okay.
And that's okay.
Now I guess it's time to get into our personal stories with birth control.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned before, I got diagnosed after an experience with a hormonal IUD. I have tried 2 different types of birth control pills. I've tried Alisina, which is a levonorgestrel.
Yeah, it's levonorgestrel and I believe ethinyl estradiol.
And I tried that while skipping my periods, and I did find that it helped a little bit. It was still not manageable. And then I switched to Yaz, or the Canadian version Maya, the non-name brand, which is the FDA-approved treatment for PMDD. And I actually found that it made things worse for me. I found it instead kind of made it so I had PMDD symptoms throughout my entire cycle.
Maybe the viewers are noticing a pattern.
Yeah, so basically I ended up discovering that I actually have progesterone intolerance. So birth control pills such as IUDs or Yaz or drospirenone or whatever are not going to be the solution for me. You wouldn't know that that is an option unless you've done this research. Or you could switch to the birth control that is supposed to help PMDD and then be like, wait, this is actually worse.
And that's not because you don't have PMDD or something is wrong with you. It's because that is essentially what PMDD is.
It's a sensitivity.
It's a sensitivity to hormonal changes. And if you're one of those people that's intolerant to progesterone, that's a hormonal change.
And none of this was acknowledged by my doctor or thought about, so it really is, in the end, kind of up to you to take that into your own hands. So having the knowledge is very necessary. Ella, tell us about your experience with birth control.
Yeah, so I went on birth control before I was diagnosed with PMDD. So I don't really remember what my first few months were like and if I noticed a change emotionally. But I was put on Aviane 28, which is like a less or Alicina. I think they're all
Alicina, yeah, which was the one I was on.
the same. They are levonorgestrel and ethanol estradiol combination pills on a 21 and 7 cycle pill pack, right? What did I notice with that? Really nothing, to be honest. It regulated my period to a T. I always get it the same day every month. It didn't do anything to help my emotional symptoms or PMDD in general. And then once I was diagnosed with PMDD, I spoke to my doctor and she said, well, you're already on birth control, so that should already be helping you. And I was like, oh, wow, so do I need something else? Because this sucks. This is not okay.
Yeah.
And so I was put on an SSRI. I'm still on both. And then I spoke to my doctor a little while ago. I spoke with Gertie, and Gertie was on Maya at the time. And I also wanted to switch to Yaz or Maya, same thing, to try that out because I heard that that was the one that was proven to help PMDD. My doctor pretty much told me that there was going to be probably a higher risk of getting blood clots if I were to switch over, and that probably wouldn't make a big change, so she just upped my SSRI dosage instead. And last night I found out that levonorgestrel and progesterone, or, drospirenone, are different, and that drospirenone is the one recommended for PMDD, and levonorgestrel isn't really. So I'm on the birth control that isn't really even supposed to help with PMDD. Felt very, betrayed.
Yeah, very.
I was like, okay, this whole time I've been taking 2 methods to proactively conquer my PMDD and help, and now I found out I'm just taking the SSRI for it, essentially. And I'm not saying, again, that levonorgestrel and ethanol estradiol combination pills don't help some people, but they're clearly not helping with my PMDD.
And you expressed that.
And I've expressed that, and I told her that, and the fact that she still was like, oh, let's wait, kind of speaks to how doctors don't really know about what's best for PMDD when it comes to birth control. I think I'm going to try to switch over. She didn't recommend it, but she said I could do it. So I'm going to do it.
I did want to add in that I was skipping my periods throughout all of my birth control trials, and Ella was not. So that is a difference between experience.
It's definitely been an option, and I've never felt like I wanted to skip my periods because I am super paranoid that that's going to... I track a lot. I track my symptoms every night, and that's how I've been able to know and expect it at certain times. And so I'm scared that if I skip my period, I won't know.
Well, that was exactly my experience, where I ended up not feeling any relief from my PMDD symptoms, but I also just felt like I completely lost track of my cycle. And I also felt very insecure in my diagnosis. I couldn't track and I couldn't see. And so that was that was ultimately the reason I decided to go off of it. And then I found out I was progesterone intolerant. And we did talk to somebody who is on Alicina.
So again, that's levonorgestrel, ethanol estradiol.
Yeah, so it is not technically the PMDD treatment. And they were on that for a while, and they were finding that that was not working for them until they started skipping their periods. And since skipping their periods, that has really helped them. So, it's a nice wrap up because everybody is different. Ella's had different experiences. She's had different experiences. I've had different experiences. This was a question that I had when going on birth control. Is your period on the pill a real period? It is technically called a placebo week or a withdrawal bleed, and that is what it is, but similar to a regular period. A regular period occurs when you ovulate and you don't have a baby, so you shed your uterine lining and the egg, and that is a drop in progesterone. And just like that, when you stop taking your birth control pills, when you take your sugar pills, it is also a drop in progesterone.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the bleed itself is the shedding of the lining, right? Because you don't have the egg, but you have the lining.
It is recommended that if you are skipping your periods, if you notice you're starting to spot, it usually means that your uterine lining has gotten thick, and you should let yourself bleed for a week so you can shed that.
If you have questions, email us at pmddivas@gmail.com, and we'll try our best to answer.
And we'll have the articles down below if you want to look into it more, if this was hard to digest. Before we go, do we want to do our check-ins?
Let's do our check-ins.
I think we need to announce our big shared check-in. Me and Ella booked a trip.
We booked a little vacation.
Maybe we should save it where we're going as a surprise.
That'll be a surprise.
That'll be a surprise, and we'll make a video from location.
Yes. A couple months away still, but we are very excited for that. Besides that, I had an amazing time at the Light Up on Thursday.
That was huge.
We're going to try to post our live that we did on IAPMD Global on our YouTube as well, because that was just so amazing. Yeah, it was really cold though. I was freezing.
Yeah, it was. We might have had a little bit of a meltdown.
A little bit of a meltdown. Got really cold. Entering my luteal. You were as well. Day after was kind of a little bit dead, but besides that, Thursday was really good. Yeah. What about you?
For me, I had my first period and luteal phase off of birth control. It was a lot less intense than I was expecting, to be honest. While I was on my birth control, I was experiencing physical symptoms all the time, which made it so much harder. Like I basically was fatigued and exhausted for, 4 months.
That is what they say about people who are intolerant to progesterone, is that they're just tired all the time.
That is what happens. So it was nice to kind of get a breath of fresh air. And although I was having a little bit of a meltdown and had a tough time and was irritable, it was nice to kind of feel like I'm back in the swing of things. And besides that, the Light Up was an incredible experience. We're so grateful for Sandy and the IAPMD for letting us have that. Yeah. And learning about birth control pills and progesterone intolerance is very interesting. So I guess overall it's good.
Yeah.
Baby's here.
Bye,
Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye. Boop, boop, boop.
Mommy, 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 mommy.